Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chapter Tactics, where we talk about both tactics and strategies for both new and veteran players alike. I am your host, Magic Fly, also known as Matt, and with me today we have the very, not as bald as he was last time, Scott LaFountain.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And on top of that, we have our guest today, which is the one, the only, Stephen Corrales from XPZ.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, how about go ahead and introduce yourself for people that don't know exactly who you are.
Sure. First off, guys, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's going to be fun. We'll talk about a little bit of chaos here in a moment. But my name's Steven. I'm from the West Coast, San Diego, to be specific. I'm the founder and captain of Xenos Petting Zoo, which is a competitive team over here on the West Coast. Trying to be somewhat of a purveyor of the 40K community and trying to build on the community as a whole, so that we all have a cool thing to hang out and play 40K and just have different events and opportunities to do that as much as possible, and trying to just make that abundant. So that's me.
Heck yeah, Scott.
Awesome.
Did something change with your camera?
Yeah, I have a new camera, and for some reason it didn't switch over. So
okay,
yeah,
so
you
now
probably
you're
lost me for a second. And
Yeah.
You get a prettier me in HD instead of the janky camera on my computer.
It's okay. People think that we're all ugly, so like it's fine. We all play
Well, now they get to
chaos
see,
collectively. Yeah.
But now they get to see just how ugly I am in HD, so it's all good.
It sounds terrible.
Demons release.
Yeah. All right. So for today, we're gonna be talking about Chaos Space Marines. I'm sorry, I saw the Demons article and it's just still fresh in my head, but we are going to be talking about Chaos Space Marines and basically just like prodding Steven to see like exactly how they're doing, because you said that Chaos Space Marines is like one of your first armies, right?
Yeah, Chaos Space Marines is kind of the army that brought me back into 40K, 8th and 9th edition. I'm unlike the general populace. Most of the guys are, I've been playing since 2nd edition. That's not me. I played a lot when I was young and loved it, and then got out, and then realistically getting back into Chaos and popping back into there is kind of what pulled me back in towards the tail end of 9th. And it's been gone ever since. So I have a lot of a Chaos faction, and it's kind of my army of passion. How we all tend to have several armies, but there's the one that you love. That's my army. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm invigorated with the new decks coming out, and glad to have something viable again.
Yeah, dude, it was like it was pretty rough for a while, huh? Like it was just
Who you telling?
For a while,
yeah, we started
like
out
a year and a half.
Yeah, like,
dude, I no shame, man, put them back on the shelf for a good solid 8 months, just because, man, I got sick of taking beatings. You go there and you're just like, dude, no matter how good or how solid things are, I have one wound. So yeah, I'm happy about that. Happy that they're viable.
Heck yeah, nice. And we also have some leaks, or not leaks, but like information about stuff that's happened so far. But before we get into that, we have this weekly games recap where we kind of just recap some of the stuff that we did over the weekend. Scott, you said that you haven't played anything this weekend.
Yeah, so
Shame.
I haven't played any Warhammer.
Shame.
I haven't played any. Get me stripped down naked in the court. You're ringing the bell, right? Yeah. So, I haven't played any Warhammer this week. I've got a lot going on this month. Actually, tomorrow is mine and my wife's 20th anniversary, so we got stuff planned for that. And then Universal Studios next weekend with the kids. So yeah, not a lot of time for playing games. But we did play a game with my brother called Unmatched. Have you guys heard of this game?
No. What the heck is that? What is Unmatched?
So Unmatched is it's been out for like 2 years now, but it's got different versions of it. So like one of the games that we have here is the Jurassic Park version.
Oh.
And so you can play as either Dr. Ellie Sattler or the T-Rex. And
you can't, wait, can you not play as Jeff Goldblum? It's either her or the T-Rex?
So you can play as him, but he plays as another character that counts as a token on the board.
Oh, so he's like an NPC?
No, you still use him in the game. It's just like you have two models instead of having just Ellie. You have him and Ellie that you're moving around doing stuff with. But the whole idea is just to go in and attack each other and try to win. And so I've been playing that game with the kids and then painting up the models for it. And so you're probably not going to see great pictures of them on the thing here, but
Oh,
A
that's
little bit of a
cool.
size difference here.
Yeah. Is that true to
But they
scale?
play. I have no idea.
Can
I'm
you
not
can
that
you
big of a nerd.
can you proxy the T-Rex as a Squigoth? I think that you can, right? I'm pretty sure that you can.
He's probably big. I mean, here's him next to like a Chaos Fury, so I
Yeah,
mean he's
he's big
pretty good
enough.
size.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could proxy him as Be'lakor. I think it's good. I think you're fine.
Nah, not quite that big. And then the cool thing about this game is you can mix and match characters from every box set.
Oh, okay.
So the other box set that we got is the Hell's Kitchen box set with Daredevil, Bullseye, and Elektra.
Oh, that's cool.
And so in this one, you can play like Elektra and four of her hand ninja warriors, whatever. And so again, same thing. I've been working on painting them up, and so little Daredevil, Elektra figures. But they're way smaller than normal, like even Space Marine, so the detail kind of crap on them. But the game is super fun. Takes only about like 20, 30 minutes to play a game, and you can play it to 4 people. So
Nice. Okay. All right.
been
Well,
kind of nerding out with that a little bit.
hey, listen, all right. I love board games with a passion. Like you have no idea. So seeing that you're branching out and playing some other ones with your kids, like that makes me very, very happy. Steven, what about you? What have you done over the weekend?
Over the weekend, let's see. I've been trying to really lab this Chaos Space Marines list I've been playing. I'm trying to think of the last game. I think I ran it against the Kraken Nids list. If that's what we're talking about games and stuff. And I think that was my last game. And then right before that,
Okay.
I had a RTT. I brought him to.
And how did that go?
And how'd you do at the RTT?
Yeah.
The RTT was good. I didn't drop any, so 3-0 with the new Chaos Space Marines, so it was
Nice.
solid. It felt like the game plan was working. So yeah, I'm pretty hyped on it, pretty excited about it. Trying to see how far I can take that.
Heck yeah. All right, cool. So everyone had like a pretty busy weekend. All I did this weekend, I played like Chaos Demons versus Orcs for like a stream. That was pretty fun. I only lost by like 6. I only lost by 6 points. It was like Monster Mash Slaanesh with Be'lakor, and it was like totally fine. I will say that the Orcs list wasn't
cool
very
game.
good, so it was like take that as you will. But yeah, that's mostly it.
Now, I will say I watched the end of that game,
Yeah.
and I think had you taken no prisoners,
Oh,
you'd have
yeah.
won that one.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I wanted to take the secondaries that said like reality. There's like reality rebels and like despoilers of reality, and I was like, I'm gonna take both of them because they're awesome. Despoilers of reality is terrible. It's a very very bad secondary. Never take it. But what's it called? Reality rebels or reality rebels, however you pronounce it. It's really good. I like it. It's a good secondary. Moving on from there, we've got new releases. Scott, do you want to run us through some of the new releases that are coming out?
Cool, yeah. So we have the Demios Pattern Predator for 30K or the Horus Heresy, whichever one you guys calling it out there. This is the old original like second edition Predator that they redid in resin from Forge World, and then they're redoing it now in plastic. How many people saw this one? But the big one, Angron, the Demon Prince of Corn, or Primarch of Corn.
You don't
Dude,
say, huh?
I'll tell you, I'm a diehard like Dark Angels fan. Like I've got more points in Dark Angels than probably any two armies combined I own. And like I saw that model, as much as I was disappointed it wasn't the Lion, I was like, I gotta get it still. It just looks so awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, Angron is sick.
I didn't even play World Leaders, but like I gotta get him. Like he just looks so cool.
I swear, man.
I just want him to be savage. I want that model to be so good.
Oh,
At 40K, dude. Like,
yeah, he's gonna be ridiculous, I think.
DW's getting so good at printing their plastic, man. Like every single time they come out with like somebody new, it looks so good. They always look so good.
The Sunday preview, we didn't see a whole lot there. The one big thing we saw there was the Kill Team box set. For those of you that missed this because you probably weren't looking for it, there's some Imperial Naval Breachers, which basically looks like Astra Militarum running around with double-barreled shotguns and shields, which
That's
could
pretty
be
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
The problem is they're probably going to be like the Voidsmen, where they have no rules for like 6 months, and they come out and they're kind of trash, and then like a year later they get a little bit of steam and pick up, and they find playable rules, but then you can't find the models anywhere.
Yeah. Something tinfoil hat. They release the models and then they wait, and then it's not good, so then they make broken rules for them and then they sell it. Something
Yeah.
tinfoil hat something. Is that what
Yeah.
you're trying to say?
Yeah, so I don't know how great that's going to be, but on the other side of that box set is the new Kroot Kinband. And this provides us with some new Kroot models. But the big thing is this is going to have a plastic Kroot shaper in it.
Oh,
so
okay.
the little character for the Kroot, you can pick up him in that box, which is kind of cool.
Okay. All right.
Then,
Not that anyone's running a Kroot shaper, but it's still it's cool
you know,
to have.
I made a list. I thought about running one. I mean, a little
Uh-huh.
25, 35 point model
Yeah.
that you can toss a warlord trait on, just hide him in the back. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, sure. With CP being so frugal now.
Yeah, I had an extra spot in a battalion,
Yeah.
The thing I'm most excited about here is the following day on Sunday, we saw that they are finally going to be releasing Kabanda soon.
Is it
Kabanda is that
Kabanda? Or is it
Kabanda, yeah.
Kabunda?
It's Kabanda.
Dude, that was
There's no U
I
in there.
actively
Kabanda.
tried to hold back laughter right there.
Yeah, so
Kabanda,
Kabanda.
dude.
So Kabanda will be coming out. He is the largest Forge World model in the Heroes figure line. He's gonna be priced at $330 US.
Oh my goodness, that's so much.
Yeah, he comes on a knight base.
Yeah.
So like Imperial Knight base, he's on that size base. He's gonna be freaking huge. I'm waiting till I see the rules before I put any money down on that guy, because that's quite a bit of money to drop for a model that may be kind of crappy, and it's one of the last Forge World hero models that's still in resin. So I don't know.
That dude's
I'm
so
missing on that
sick.
one.
Yeah.
He looks awesome. He looks amazing.
I just want to know if he's gonna be warped. If you buy him.
Oh, if he's warped?
Yeah.
Comes with hairdryer.
Yeah, it comes with.
Well, the cool thing is, I looked at the video about him. Is the big whip that he has comes in like 7 pieces.
Why?
So it's not like the last Bloodthirster with the I think Angron or whatever his name is, the Exalted Demon Bloodthirster you can get through Forge World. Whereas whip is like one solid straight piece, so you have to bend it to the shape you want it. Like, that's such a horrible idea. So coming in the multiple pieces, I think is probably a better option for that.
Watch, all the 7 pieces are like the spikes on the tips that you have to like glue on. You're just gonna lose a finger. That's all it's gonna be. That's all it is.
Less is more, Scott.
Yeah.
Less is more.
He does.
Have you ever glued your fingers together?
Yeah, like it's
multiple times. Yeah.
All right.
But he does come with an optional helmet, which looks kind of sick. So if you get a chance to take a look at that. It does look pretty awesome. And then the most exciting thing was on Monday, they finally told us we're getting a Chaos Demon Codex soon.
Let's go! Let's go!
Freaking time!
Jeez, they can finally, it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to it. I want to know what they're gonna do with like the greater demons, and if that's still gonna be like, if you can still run Monster Mash, because that's like my favorite part of Chaos Demons is the greater demons. No, just the small dudes.
Well, I don't.
They're not. I don't think they're going to do it, because you know how limited HQs are, like Chaos Lords and Demon Princes, the rule of 1.
Yeah. Oh no. No. Why would you say? Why would you kill my dreams like that?
They want big and little. Haven't you seen NIDS?
Man.
They want the big and the littles.
Man.
So I'll tell you, I did talk to a playtester that told me that in the Codex there is not a way to do it, but that he did see and he did playtest one of the next expansion books coming out. Will have an army renowned for basically greater demon spam.
Oh,
so it won't be available right away, but rumored is it's still going to happen.
Okay, all right.
Is this wishful thinking? This sounds like wishful thinking.
I don't want to name names, but it's the same judge I talked to, so leave it there.
But it's this guy right here.
His name rhymes with something. So Scott, what are these leaks that you put down here for Chaos Demons?
Okay, so about a week ago, Wallace over at Warhammer posted a video on his site or on YouTube talking about the upcoming Demon Codex that had not been released or announced yet, and leaks that he had been told from a playtester. Now, he didn't release any copied pages or any details on where he got the information other than that. So, I mean, I don't have any reason not to believe the guy, but take this with a grain of salt. But this is what's going around the internet right now. So, major changes. First off, greater demons limited to 1 per detachment. Not 1 per god per detachment, but just 1 per detachment.
Just immediately just shit on all over my dreams, huh? Just the first thing.
But from what they did say that greater demons will be equivalent of knights and are going to be extremely hard to kill.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, if you're only taking 2 in an army, 3 in an army, if you're taking like triple patrol, Yeah, they may still be pretty good still, but we have to wait and see. Most of the unit sizes change from 30-man max to 10-man max, except for demonettes are 20-man max. They're also rumored to change stuff like Beasts of Nurgle going down to like max of 3 to 4, I believe. So you can't run like the big 9-man blobs of those that just take forever to try to kill.
Okay.
Most units are able to deep strike for free now.
That's very interesting.
Warping and wherever. Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. Sounds kind of good. That sounds pretty good, but okay, go ahead.
Here's the next big one. They no longer have a demon save. They have a demonic save, which is an unrendable armor save.
Unrendable.
So let that sink in. Unrendable. You cannot change their armor save.
Oh, okay.
Super mega invuln.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Just it's a save, plus.
Yeah.
My
save beats your save. I have a shield that beats your shield. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So each god has 2 different saves based on whether it's a ranged attack or a melee attack. And they can be different based on the size of the models. Now, that's all he said on that part. He didn't say whether it's going to be better or worse on the size of the model. So, like, for all we know, they might have a slightly worse save for a greater demon, but a better save for the smaller demons. We just don't know. Just he said they're different size or different save based on the size of the model. But he did give some examples. So, for example, like Zinch demons will have a flat 3-up save that's unrendable from ranged attacks and a 5-up save against melee attacks.
Okay.
So if you're a hammerhead, shooting at them, they're still going to get just a flat 3-up save from you. Like, you don't get to ignore their save. You can still do your mortal wounds afterwards.
That doesn't sound right. That sounds way too broken. Just like a 3-up normal save. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah, I call BS on that one.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
This is the second time I've heard this, though. I heard this from somewhere else as well, too. And then Khorne is supposed to have kind of the opposite of that, where they get a 3-up unrendable save in melee and a 5-up unrendable save in shooting. So they're better in melee than the Zinch are. Zinch is better at shooting. I don't know.
Be where your god wants you.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, and then go ahead and let's go through the rest of these.
So we'll go through these pretty quickly here, because we're kind of running along. Horrors will be able to split for free on a roll of a 5-up, so no more keeping reserve points. They also did say that demonic summoning is going away. We'll no longer be able to summon. Infernal Gateway does way better, where it just does a flat 3 mortal wounds for every unit within 3 inches of the target unit. No longer the closest model anymore. So that's a little different there. Bloodletters get base 2 attacks and base damage 2. There's a new unit called a Renmaster.
I wonder what he does. Interesting.
Supposedly it's rewording of
Ren's things masterfully.
Yeah.
Supposedly it's supposed to be just like rewording of like some of the Khorne, like Herald of Khorne. They're giving it like an actual name, kind of like the Flux Master and the Change Caster and stuff like that. They're just calling it Ren Master for Khorne. I don't know.
Ooh, those all rhyme too.
Cute, I guess, but whatever.
Yeah.
All Khorne gets +1 toughness, and Blood Crushers, those are guys on the Bloodletters on the giant beast, will go up to 5 wounds.
Oh, okay. I like
that. Here's a big one. Plague Bearers go up to T5 and 2 wounds each.
Okay.
And then their demonic resilience changed to a -1 damage, so they're basically like Plague Marines now.
Yeah.
Nurglings are no longer troops. So they lose OBSEC, but they will gain forward deploy, or they will have forward deploy still.
Okay.
And then Slanesh will have access to fight first, fight last, and fight on death abilities.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay.
I mean, there's some spicy things in there, but again, we've only had one person that brought this up. It was brought up in his video. I'm not saying the guy's a liar by any means. This could absolutely all 100% be true, and I hope it is.
Yeah, it sounds like that. If all these things are true, like demons sound like they're going to be an absolute menace on the board. Because like all the stuff that you just said, like sounds really, really good. Just the 3-up against range for Zinch is like insane. Like that's crazy. Yeah. That's insane.
But then again, they lose it to a 5-up against melee. So
yeah. But who cares? You still have a 5-up.
Oh, one other thing he said is Karios, the character greater demon for Zinch, the big bird with the 2 heads.
Yeah.
The plus to cast that he gets is based off of the battle round. So if it's battle round 4, he gets +4 to his cast.
Okay.
Which is cute.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So that's the news that we've had. That's popped up a little bit. So moving on from there, we're gonna start talking about the Chaos Space Marines Codex. But before we do that, just gotta say that this show is brought to you by FrontlineGaming.org, where you guys can get amazing game mats for not just your 40K games, but almost any tabletop game out there. Purchase miniatures at a discount and join some of the largest 40K events in the industry. They also have great shows like Signals from the Frontline, Chapter Tactics, which you're listening to right now, Thursday Show with Adam Camilleri, and so much more. That's FrontlineGaming.org. LVTT tickets are out now. It's happening in September, so go get your tickets. Let's all get in there and do some team tournaments. Dude, team tournaments are so much fun. But yeah, so that's coming up. And then also SoCal Open tickets are coming out on Saturday. So the Saturday that this video comes out on, which is this week, boom, it's coming out. Man, I'm like so dazed and confused right now. I'm like, there's so much, you just put so much information in my head, and like now I can't function right now.
Hey, I was just happy you said Chaos Space Marines and not Chaos Demons.
I know,
when you transition there.
I know. And I'm ready to talk about Chaos Space Marines. And I'm sure that Steven is also very, very excited to talk about Chaos Space Marines. So how about, let's start off with like a very simple question. What are your first impressions of the book now that you've played with it more? And what's something that you like and dislike about it?
Yeah, so I think that the book, in my first impression, is that it's not what I thought it was going to be, and that's not a negative or a positive thing. It's just a completely objective thing. I think the identity of what Chaos Space Marines were has greatly shifted. The Chaos Space Marines you used to know were probably one of the most violent and damage-dealing factions in the game. That's what you were used to. You were having things dropping down, getting all these pluses, +1 to wound, double shooting, and just annihilating things. And you were a type of army. I think that's very, very much shifted. I think you can tell the identity in Ninth Edition with what Chaos Space Marines is now is more of a durable army that's supposed to be able to make one moment at the right time, hyper efficient, and deliver it properly. So it's been a different adjustment to what I've been used to and what we've all been used to. However, that's not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing. I think that, in this type of game, it rewards more choices on the battlefield, especially with kind of the theme and what, Ninth Edition has become, whether it was Octarius, Nachmund, or Nephilim and all that stuff. So I think that this falls right in line with that. I mean, I think since we've seen Death Guard, we've seen a great identity in all of the codexes as they come out, and this one follows suit, I think, because Death Guard came out, it felt like you were fighting what Death Guard should be like. A plotting army that you can't kind of stop, but they're super slow, and they have these contagions that when you're close, it just is crazy. And same thing all the way to Eldar, and all of these armies just had a real identity on the table that was just like what they were supposed to be. I think Chaos is no less. I think they fit. They fit. There's some things that I think have me a little bit perplexed, but I think they're things we can deal with.
Okay. Well, how about tell us like what are the things that make you a little bit confused?
So the biggest thing about it is, for me, I think that we lost a lot of the things that loyalists do have in mobility for our HQ units. We have a lot of great things in a lot of the HQ units we have, but Chaos actually only has access to one model that's like an infantry model with a jump pack, and it's a named character that's Legion locked. In addition to that, we have only one HQ choice now that moves 12 inches with fly, which is very interesting because you used to be able to put a jump pack on a lot of things. Like the Loyalists can put a chaplain on a bike. You could be on a jetpack. You can have a librarian on a bike. You can have him in Phobos armor. You can have a captain on a bike. You can have a captain with a jetpack. You can have all of these flexible options. Chaos simply doesn't have that. They're walking on foot if you're taking them. And they're going to take an expensive monster choice in what is the Demon Prince. So that's probably the biggest thing that has me a little bit confused, unless I see a reboot in Marines that follows something similar and they're trying to titrate what is out there when it comes to fast, mobile, killy characters. I can understand that if the game is trying to get to a different point and reward more strategy there. That was one of the things. The other big thing that I noticed on a negative standpoint that I didn't necessarily like so much is that the solid absence of shooting and the absence of a meaningful revamp on some of our better shooting units. So things like our Devastator equivalents, which is the Havocs, remained absolutely the same. We just got a wound and can take a different mark. But I mean, we still have a D6 weapon with 4 shots, so it's like, dude, not reliable. What we know and love in Obliterators that was really good, but the problem with Obliterators was you always could fall victim to the rolling the 1 on a D3, whether it was AP or volume or whatever. and they put it right back in, because in your most meaningful shot volume, the one that's flat 4 and neg 3, it's D3 shots. So you can once again just roll the 1 and be like, dude, come on, I paid 90 points for this model.
You know, blast.
No, it's not blast, which is better because, I mean, there's an intent for that data sheet, as we'll talk about later, unless you guys want me to go into it now. But that seems to be like, they wanted it to be like a bowling ball type of unit where you drop it in, you shoot the heck out of something, you charge something, you fight it, and you fight it pretty well, and then you shoot it again and it's in combat, and then you walk forward and you fight the next thing. And they just want that unit to be really hyper aggressive moving forward. It kind of seems like what the play design is on it. So that's the thing with those. Those are the things that I don't necessarily like. Some of the things I do like is there is a lot of individuality in your HQ choices. There's a lot of individuality in the relics and warlord traits and the combos that you can create a toolbox character to fulfill any role that you kind of need right now. And there are some standouts and some things that are much less so. But I think that there's a lot of stuff that you can really fit and kit your characters out to do, which is really awesome. I really like that. I like that as well.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of a hero hammer that you can do with Chaos Space Marines right now, right? Does like the changes with Nephilim affect that at all? Like,
so
make it harder?
They do.
Okay.
They do. Well, it just becomes this thing, which is, I think, by design, where if you're going to go all in on relics and warlord traits in the beginning, that has to be a huge part of your battle plan. To where, for me, I don't spend all of my relics and warlord trait CP pregame because I need some that are integral to my initial game battle plan. So it all depends. And the cool thing about it is it will depend on which legion you roll with and what their identity is. So for me, I think that with those, I think that that's really the main thing about it. I think you can build an army that plays several different ways out of CSM currently. And I think that depending on what you want to do will really dictate that.
Okay. And go ahead, Scott. Go ahead.
I was saying, so you brought up the legions. Which legion are you running, or what do you think are the top couple legions, and why?
Two vastly different questions, but I'll answer them both. So for me, my favorite legion has always been Alpha Legion. I played them at the end of 8th, and they're cool. I love what they do. I love the narrative behind them. I love the paint scheme, and so I'm diehard Alpha Legion all the way through. So I will play that even if it's a little suboptimal. And that's what I have been playing, and I've been liking it. I kind of like feeling like I'm the underdog sometimes. So it's good. Now, the next question is like the $1 million question, I think, with this codex, because there's a lot of differing opinions from a lot of the high-level guys that I've played with and I've talked to and I've heard or listened to in their own, voicing their own opinions. I think right now the consensus best ones are Word Bearers, followed by Emperor's Children, followed by Black Legion. Those are the three that you'll hear towards the top of discussion from most of the most credible content creators and players out there for several reasons. But I don't necessarily think I share the same opinion with them. And we can get into why when we start going through everything. But I think that this book and this edition is catching us by storm. And luckily, I'm in an environment where we can play lots of games over and over the course of these several weeks. We've been grinding a ton of games out. And what people are kind of, I find that a lot of people, I feel like, are talking about this book in the context of a lot of principles that are very integral to Nachmund and the older chapter approved, but they're not necessarily as efficient in what Nephilim brings to the changes, as well as on the heels of that brand new data slate, because a lot of stuff got mellowed out. So I think that where the game is at, you're going to find that some of the stuff that I think is being set out there is accurate, but slightly off target, if that makes sense. So there are some strengths to what's being said, but it's all in a vacuum. And I don't necessarily think that I entirely agree with it. The other thing that's kind of funny is I feel like a lot of people have really grazed over this book and have not read it in depth all the way, because there's some little hidden gems and stuff in there that I noticed a lot of people miss. That are both good things and bad things that can be either strengths or infractions, if you will. So I think that those things are important too. It's funny, and it's going to be important for all of us to kind of brush up on a little bit of the rules and the changes to the Codex Chaos Space Marines, because some people will read older spells. A good example is like Diabolic Strength. People take Diabolic Strength in a list and they'll want to use it on their Demon Prince because that's the way it used to be. But that spell changed in just one word. The only difference is it's infantry only now. So whereas before, where you could cast it on a Demon Prince, you could beef up anything realistically. Now it's only an infantry model too. The other thing is it's model only, not a unit. So you'll find that some people will make the mistake of just grazing over the spell and thinking that they can buff up the unit with the +2 attacks and +2 strength and whatnot. But it's really just a single model, and he has to be infantry.
Yeah.
So those are little types of small nuanced things that people will graze over and miss that I've kind of noticed so far.
Yeah, it's when I was like looking through it, you were talking about like word bearers, and it's pretty powerful that like just your faction bonus is just that you get to reroll your hit rolls whenever you make a charge. Like that's pretty nuts that you have that. Like that's kind of crazy as just an all around thing, and then you have like a 2 CP strat to reroll your wound roll. Like that's nuts. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's super good. It's very good. It's very good. The thing is, that's one of the things that I talk about that I think is very, very good, but it's in a vacuum. Because if you look at where we're at in the game now, me specifically, if you think about the prevalence of Chaos Space Marines, you think about the prevalence of Harlequins were the last big push and winning some events. Scott, you and I were at an event that Harlequins won, right? There's a lot of trans hitmen, no rerolls out there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things of the sort, and especially with Chaos coming out with the Apostle, that's even more relevant. So this Legion trait is going to fall dead on a lot of stuff. You know, so let's talk about, you want to get into some Legion traits?
Yeah. But before we do that though, can we briefly talk, because like we're talking about Nephilim and stuff, and the biggest thing about Nephilim are actually like the secondaries that you have available to you, and every single,
you nailed it.
Yeah, and every single Legion has like a specific secondary that they can take for themselves. Which secondary do you think is like the strongest for like the specific Legion ones, and how are the secondaries for Chaos Space Marines just in general?
Generally, they're bad.
Okay.
Generally, because there's like one or two stipulations or criteria that's missed that make it fall just short of the mark of being practical to score. When you take, as a competitive player, when you take a secondary, it has to be something that is going to be reliable and predictable. It's those two things are what we look for, because you need to be able to make a projection of your score throughout the game towards the end in order to achieve your path to victory. What you don't want is RNG or variables that make unpredictable scoring where you catch that zero. Unfortunately, a lot of the Chaos Space Marine faction and Legion specific secondaries fall into that category. Like, for instance, I'll talk about the one I know the most, which is Alpha Legions, right? And a lot of them are like this. It's a pseudo teleport homers one. So what it says is an infantry unit can start the action at the end of the movement phase, so long as it's wholly within 6 inches of the enemy's deployment zone. So you don't have to be in, just within 6. It can be in or out. It completes at the next command phase, which automatically means this needs to be worth a lot of points, and it also needs to give me some sort of value that makes this reasonable to take to score above a 10. If you complete it at the end of your next command phase, if you're outside of their deployment zone, you gain 3 points. If you're wholly within their deployment zone, you'll gain 4 points. To me, this is very similar to teleport homers. It's just a lot more. You got to be a little bit deeper in their zone.
Yeah.
Now, there's a cool thing that's flavorful about it, which they did really great on all of these secondaries, to where if I am meeting the criteria I just mentioned, but I'm also within 3 inches of one of their objectives, if it's anything but a cultist on a 3-up, if it's a cultist on a 5-up, then if it's successful on that roll when the action completes, they simply cannot control that action, nor can they conduct actions on that objective ever again. So the objective there could just never be scored. Would be good, I think, and would be a gamble, but still something that you would see taken if it could be scored either at the start of the next battle or the start of your next command phase or the end of the game. Now, it doesn't do that. It just stores at the start of the next command phase. So realistically, what you have to think is you're going to have to be able to do this from turn 2 all the way to turn, and you're going to miss turn 1 and turn 5 because you can't complete it at the end of the game. And realistically, you're not in your opponent's deployment zone turn 1. So you have 3 turns to get that. And if you don't get it all the way in their deployment zone, that's a 12 maximum, right? Yeah. So it just makes it one of those things where it's like, okay, realistically, I'm probably going to catch a 6 on this, and I'm never going to take it. You know, but if I could score it at the end of the game as well, then you're looking at a 9 to a 12 reliably, and maybe I take this sometimes, you know. And it goes to the same things with a lot of them, like Black Legions. You can start it and you can do it. It's really cool. There's some actions on the center of the objective, which is end of the movement phase to the command phase again, but the criteria is no enemy units can be on it. So like
that sounds terrible. It's
just these things that can just massively give your opponent way too much agency into what you're trying to do, and with that it just makes a lot of them not viable. That being said, the positive thing is that a couple legions did get very good ones. One particularly, I think 2 of them. Word Bearers is really good because it synergizes with what the army right now already wants to do. It's a Word Bearers unit does the action on the within 6 inches of the center of the board. I believe if you have OPSEC, it completes at the end. and it's almost like a non-psychic warp ritual. You just do that several turns, and you can get up to, I believe, a 14 on it. Don't quote me on it. We can pull it up if we need to. That one's very doable because most of the time Chaos wants to dominate the midboard pretty well with their units, and that's what they're trying to do. So that one synergizes with the game plan and works out really well. You'll see a lot of Word Bearers players playing for that secondary objective. The other one that's good, because once again we're talking about synergy, is the Bile. Creations of Bile. Yeah, so they have a pretty good Legion trait, and it pretty much they fight on death. It rewards them to be pretty aggressive with their melee. And then theirs, it's called Specimens for the Spider. It rewards you victory points based on conditions for killing. You gain an extra point if you kill Marines. So it's pretty good. It rewards you for wanting to be in there doing what you're already doing, getting in there and killing stuff in melee. So you're just racking up points for that. And the other good thing about that one is it's in the Purge category, which frees up some of the usual suspects, which you can also reliably take without sacrificing taking your R&D or your Engage. You can take that one in addition. Yeah.
Do you think that Specimens for a Spider is not as good though? Because I'm reading out here saying that they have to be destroyed by a melee attack. Is that
right?
Is that not great for the army compared to like shooting, or what's your thoughts on that?
On paper, yes, Scott. But so let's talk about it too as well. So each Legion kind of has a certain identity of what it does well. Creations of Bile plays similar to what you saw on Dark Harlequins, where you can kind of emphasize into this kind of trade game. And what happens is you get a lot of value with Creations of Bile because their Legion trait, I believe, gives you +1 movement, +1 strength, and then the other half of it is you fight on death. So you just want to launch yourself in there. It's good. It's really good. So you're thinking you're taking MSU units of these really efficient data sheets like Possessed. It's a strength 5 attack, -2 flat 2 damage model. Just slingshot it in there and get them, get those units killing stuff, and then they're going to get double the value on it, and you're going to be scoring victory points the more stuff you kill. So it's a build. You build for it. It's not. It probably doesn't work well if you're taking these big bomb units, or these units you want to hyper buff and stick around. But if you're playing into what plays to the strengths of Creations of Bile with that and their stratagems and whatnot, that's a really good secondary to play into.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
What secondaries are you like currently running right now? Are you taking like the Long War because you're playing Alpha Legion, right?
I play Alpha Legion. I play all vanilla secondaries every time.
Okay.
My list is built to score primarily behind enemy lines, raise the banners high, and then my last one is typically flexible. It'll be mission and player dependent. So if I'm playing against like Tau, for instance, I know I'll be able to complete Ritual, so I'll take Ritual. If I'm playing against something that's going to be character heavy, maybe the Mirror or whatnot, then I can play for something like Assassinate or something like that, where I know I'm going to trade or whatever. If I'm playing into an army where I know they're going to be like Eldar, I can take Grind pretty well because Chaos Space Marines, like I said, the identity has shifted. They're very durable. So my third one is always matchup dependent, but I always have one that is a standout pick. I haven't had a game where I'm like, what do I pick? Like we used to see back in the day.
Yeah.
My list is built to have that third option. It's a flex option that will optimize against my opponent and based on my mission.
How come you don't value the Long War for that secondary?
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good players out here, and what a lot of good players out here realize with Nephilim is Stranglehold isn't there anymore.
So
the Long
they're
War
not
is
even
good.
going on the objectives okay, I see what's going on. That makes sense.
So what happens is you think it's good. You're like, in the old, once again, this is a lot of the things that I think fall victim to a little bit of the old Nachman bad habits that aren't there anymore. And you got to kind of change your thought process. I played one of our higher level Eldar guys over here when I was starting to invent and create this list into the version that I have now. And when you don't have Stranglehold and you're Eldar, you're probably gonna have a stronger late game than an early game. Why do you need to touch the midfield objectives?
Yeah.
So he would play his whole game and deliberately consolidate off of the midfield objectives or not touch them. And I'm sitting there like, unless I'm attacking your home field objective with a Marine equivalent army, I'm not scoring it because you're not letting me. So that can, once again, the issue with the Long War now is it's great on paper. In the old Stranglehold days, that was an amazing secondary because you had to be out there scoring. But now a high level opponent is just not going to give you those opportunities. And once again, what you don't ever want to do in your secondary choices is give your opponent the agency to deny you, or give them any sort of dictation in you scoring your points. And in the Long War, a lot of the games are realistically, they're going to do that.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I started taking the long war, and I quickly stopped after that game because I realized what could happen and what will happen at the top echelon of a tournament once you're there. And I run into somebody's Eldar that knows what they're doing. They're like, "Sick, you took long war. I'm just going to score 8s in my backfield until I've killed everything I need to kill, and then I'll score the rest of my primary. And enjoy your 0 on long war."
Okay, all right. And what oh, sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was saying it makes sense. That's a good play.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now you were saying that you're playing Alpha Legion. What gravitated you towards Alpha Legion instead of all the other ones?
Truthfully, habit. Habit.
Okay.
So the one good thing that's important about this codex with most of the legions is most of the stratagems only varied a little bit. There wasn't a lot of deviation in the stratagem sets from what the legions were doing. We got better warlord traits, better relics, and a better book around it. But most of the identity and how the stuff played is fine. And I know those stratagem sets and most of the warlord traits like the back of my hand. And I was able to take them to a decent success a long time ago when we were still on barely viable around, based on a lot of the things that Alpha Legion does well. And I think universally, a lot of your really credible sources and people that are winning tournaments and stuff like that are saying that Alpha Legion is bad, if not one of the worst. And once again, I think if you're talking about a kill-based game and you're talking about a setup where we're looking at what kind of more of Nephilim was and what the meta was looking like then, I could see that. But I think right now in Nephilim rather than Nachmund is that mobility is king more than ever. Right now, I think that the game is we've seen it get toned down on killing to a degree. And a lot of the stuff that they don't want you to do, these Alpha Strike builds, these crazy run out and smash everything builds aren't working. What they're incentivizing is choices on the tabletop. And my favorite thing about Alpha Legion has always been being able to deploy optimally and have the most ability to reposition mid-game than any other Chaos Legion. And that's the way that I play. That's what I like. So it's kind of funny. My Chaos army doesn't play to really kill you at all. I'm shifting, I'm moving, I'm scoring, and I'm stopping your plan for doing the same. So there's a lot of tools in the box of Alpha Legion that I like personally, and I think I play them. They fit my style, and style identity and understanding yourself as a player is very important in how you succeed because no matter how many times Scott wins SoCal Open with Chaos Demons, if you gave me the same list, I won't win with it. It's not my style. You know what I'm saying? That's his style. Scott knows how to play that. He knows how to make the right decisions and identify the right scenarios when he's in the mix. And that's how I feel with that specific Legion because of my just previous experience and how I know the army.
Yeah, and being able to I'm looking at their traits right now. One of it is being able to fall back and charge, and also being able to fall back and do an action. That sounds pretty good for
it's
an army
really
right
good.
Now. Yeah.
A lot of what happens with Alpha Legion is a lot of things that people didn't plan for. It's kind of funny, man. It's like it's always like this Kansas City Shuffle kind of game where my opponent's looking left and I go right. And it's kind of the way it always works. So, I mean, my list is kind of crafted to do specifically a very solid, 3-step plan to what I'm trying to do. But a good example of some of the things that fit what I'm doing is I was playing a Tau game, and I was just trying to win on primary and put him to 4s if I could as many times as possible and hold 8s or 12s. And there came a point in the game where he deep struck in a plane, and I knew what he was going to do with the plane. I knew he was going to drop in. It's the Sun Shark, so it has a lot of volume. And I saw the most optimal spot for him to put it in, which was going to be to clear the cultists off my backfield.
Mm-hmm.
He had the pocket, so he put it in there. But Alpha Legion has a stratagem called Conceal, which if you're not the closest unit, you effectively at the start of their shooting phase, I pick a unit and I conceal that unit. If they're not the closest or you're not within 12 inches, then you can't fire at them. So he drops this unit in, and his shooting phase starts. And I said, okay, boom, I'm going to conceal my backfield holders. And he was like, he just looked at me like, you son of a... and all he could shoot at was my unkillable Terminator brick. And that play didn't work, and he just gave me his plane. Yeah, it's little things like that where knowing the timing on stuff and what you set up for and kind of how you play is what makes me like that. And I think that with Alpha Legion, there's a lot of little things that can just really cripple your opponent's game plan, and that's worked. I mean, I'm curious to see how it continues to go, but I've had pretty good success with it.
So we
Alpha Legion.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to ask what the stratagem. So looking at the stratagems right here. Looks like most of your stratagems are 1 CP. There's a couple for, like 3 of them for 2 CP. Does that tend to help you all as well?
Yeah. So a lot of the better ones. So with Alpha Legion, some of their stuff got switched to some way less optimal stuff. So when you look at the Alpha Legion spreadsheet or the page of their stratagems, I'm only looking at about 3, maybe 4 of them. The good 1 CP ones that matter the most to me. I'll go in reverse order from least valuable to most valuable. The least valuable is that we're one of the few that can just fall back and shoot with the unit. 1 CP, fall back and shoot, and I can already charge. So 1 CP, I fall back, shoot, and charge, or action. So
That's really
you're
good.
never locking.
Really
I'm never
good.
pinned.
Yeah.
I'm never pinned, dude. And if like you're trying to protect something, sorry, bro, not protected. The next one that's the most important to me, and this is the other 1 CP one that's really, really solid, is the 1 CP pregame move. I think that right now, in the way that Nephilim when you're playing a slower, more durable army, one of the big keys to success is establishing your footprint in the midboard to be able to defend your position and hold your primary points. Because if you can get a hold on that center objective and triangulate with another one in your backfield and get a solid hold there, massively important. And it's very difficult to remove you, but a lot of players will see that and be able to stop you from being able to do that, whether it's with move blocks or whatever. I think that's one thing I've always found powerful. I actively build my CP 1 CP or my list with 1 available pregame CP specifically for that stratagem because it builds into mine.
But would you use that
forward operatives one, right?
What's that?
That's the forward operatives stratagem.
Forward operatives 1 CP. Use it in the resolve pre-battles portion of the game, and you select 1 infantry unit. They can make a normal move of up to 9 inches.
Ooh, up to 9. That's pretty good. But would you use that stratagem if you're fighting up against something like Necrons at all? Because Necrons have like their forward move and everything like that. Do you want to challenge them at that midboard?
Absolutely, I do. I played against. You guys might know Joel Wilson. He's a very established player. He's on his Necrons right now, and I used it against him, and it was to great success.
Okay.
But once again, I use that with a unit of Raptors to cover essentially 21 inches before the game starts. And there's a reason I do it. It fits into part of my game plan for what I'm trying to do. Literally, my game plan for how my army scores reliably. I'm somewhere between like a 65 and a 70. Just straightforward. If I just do these 1, 2, 3 steps, and then the rest of it is just trying to stop my opponent from scoring where I can in small amounts and accrue whatever my flex secondary is. So that's kind of how my game works.
So you were talking. Oh, go ahead, Scott.
I would say the interesting thing I'm noticing about that stratagem too, reading it, is it doesn't say you have to end outside of 9 of their deployment zone. You just have to end outside 9 of their models. So you can move like your full movement up. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, well, with 9 inches, the most of the time you won't get there, but on on a circular one, you can actually get there because I think you have a 16-inch corner-to-corner spread. So with that 9-inch move, you'll be within 7, which is very good. With Alpha Legion and the way that I kind of play, the one thing that I use the pregame for is more so than like getting a bead is to establish an area of the board that I want control of. So those Raptors have a 21-inch influence with it, and I bring a big unit with them. I can give them some early game buffs to increase their durability, and they'll go out and set somewhere that I want my opponent to not necessarily be incentivized to go, where if nothing was there, they might be able to come out and establish more of a board control stance, and this way you can't. And what that does is with my repositioning will quickly allow me to do that and put my opponent on the back foot in that position. So that's one of the things that I think is very, like I said, that's a build into my list for me. No. I don't always use it, but sometimes, so there's a lot of go secondaries or situations where I don't necessarily need to use it. Or if I'm also fighting another slower army, I don't necessarily need to use it, which is fine because then it sets me up for some better, to have a little more CP in the bank than a lot of other armies.
Yeah. Now, we keep talking about your list. How about we just go ahead and just like rip the Band-Aid off? Do you want to go over exactly what you're running with your list before we keep going?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in my list, obviously, I'm not necessarily saying this is like the bee's knees or anything, but it's been working for me. I've been able to go, 8 games straight with an RTT in there, and haven't dropped one with this iteration, but I'm still trying to shove it into a lot harder stuff and kind of see what's going on. His own Supreme Command detachment. I think that he's really good, and he's one of the few things that you have that can reliably kill things. He also gives you a decent build-in when you fight some stuff that's off the wall, but you'll see it every now and again, like knights or like buggy orcs or whatever. In Rise to Glory Secondary, he opens up that for you really well.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who opens that for you?
Abaddon.
Oh, Abaddon. Okay, all right.
The man himself. Yeah, so I bring Abaddon.
Okay.
That's he's in a Supreme Command. Well, let's just get him out of the way. He's really good. He kills anything, and he's really hard to remove. He's a screenable wound cap, which is just ridiculous. And then I take an Alpha Legion battalion, and the Alpha Legion battalion, I'll tell you what's in it, and then I'll tell you what I built it to do, and it does it pretty well. So I have a Demon Prince. I don't love the Demon Prince, but he's the only thing that kind of accomplishes what I want him to accomplish. I give him the Clandestine Warlord trait, which is an Alpha Legion Warlord trait that says he is trans hitman with no rerolls, and if he's receiving the benefits of cover, then he gets +1 to his saving throw, which works really well with Armor of Contempt. He's a linebacker. I mark him Nurgle. I mark him Nurgle specifically because Grandfather's Blessing is the new stratagem that works with the Nurgle mark, which gives you transhuman for 1 CP. So effectively, if I set this guy up the way I like to with player optimized terrain, which is something that will always happen, he kind of haunts a forest that's in between the center objective, but a little bit closer to my peripheral objective. And he's always going to be a 2-up, 4-up at range, trans hitman, no rerolls to hit, a transhuman to wound, 2-up, 4-up with AOC. He's just a troll. And Legion, in the Legion trait outside of 12, he's -1 already. So for the stuff that hits on 4s and natively, like Tau, you've got to overcome a net -2 to hit him. So a marker light doesn't matter anyway. So you're hitting me on 5s, transhuman into a 2-up AOC. It just doesn't really work that well. And what he does over there is he sits there with another small investment unit to hold that sideboard, but like they're standing there like, I'm holding this objective, but do you want to fight the guy behind me to kind of hold on to it? Because he can heroic on the objective and whatnot. So he'll hold a sideboard early game, and then he'll kind of move out like a queen. Speaking about chest in the later game, if he makes it that far. He also is a caster. He can cast 1. So if in games where I don't really have a lot of threat from shooting, he can really flex in and do something like Ritual or Intero really easily. And then once again, also if I take something like if the opponent gives me Rise to Glory, which is the kill vehicles, monsters, or other characters and get CP and victory points, this dude goes out and does the warps work, and he makes that happen. So what I find him for is he is a Swiss Army knife that can kind of fill a lot of different roles with some decent mobility that I just kind of haven't found a substitute for. So he works well. Then I bring the two other auto includes. I bring the Master of Possession with the Liber Hereticus. What that does is let you cast another, and it gives an additional 6 inches to all of the effects of your spells. So what it does effectively for me is make my spells 24 inches instead of 18, and he casts 3, which is huge because his 3 spells are super important. I also give him my redeploy warlord trait. So if he's on the table, he lets me redeploy 3 at the beginning, which is very important to what my list does. This guy's main role is to cast 5-up Feel No Pain on a Slanesh unit, which will either be my Raptors or my big Terminator brick, which we'll get to in a minute. He also can heal 1 Legion, Core, or Demonkin unit and res 1, which is very important to what I'm trying to do. And the last spell that he takes is giving +1 toughness to a Core or Demonkin unit, which is my whole army. So he's a very big durability increase to my army in what it does.
That sounds like your linchpin unit almost. Like he just kind of makes.
He's one of 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He's one of 2. Well, my list has a few moving parts, but that in any chaos list is a massive proponent of your list. You'll see him kitted out mostly the same way, no matter what legion you're pulling. Mm-hmm. Lastly is the Dark Apostle. The Dark Apostle brings Illusory Supplication. And Illusory Supplication is he also has the Advance in Charge Benediction. But the Illusory Supplication is the big one because you pick 1 core or character within 6 inches of him, and if the prayer goes off, which is on a 2-up, so long as he's got his little guys, that unit's trans hitman with no rerolls, which is massive. Like I said, good luck being a word bearer. So, and then he takes a warlord trait, which is also very, very important to my list. It's what I think is also part of a build around into what makes Alpha Legion kind of an underdog, but very good. And we'll talk about Legion choice later in a little bit. But it gives a unit in the command phase. I can select a unit and get a core unit or a character and give them obsec, and they can also do an action and shoot, which is massive for any sort of establishing board control. And I believe you can do that in sequence. You can do that and then score your points because you score, I believe, at the end of your command phase. Yeah. So I think you can do that, or you pick the order if it's at the beginning for whoever's player's turn it is.
Yeah.
So you can obsec something, take your objective, hold on to it, or do that, raise a banner, shoot something still. It's just very important for Chaos, who has less units than they used to, that need to do a lot of things for you. Those are my characters. Those are the only ones. And the 2 infantry characters tend to stay in the middle of a big Terminator brick. So we'll move to my troops. Is just 3 units of cultist mobs, bare bones. The troop tax, they're great. They're obsec. I keep 2 on the board, and I put 1 up in the air with my redeploy every time. What that does is allow me to score R&D if I take it. It allows me to score behind enemy lines in the late game, turn 3 and on if I take it, or engage points later on. It plays into what my list is already trying to do. Moving to elites, I take the 10-man Terminator block. I had a bunch of shooting stuff in it, but I found that at the end of the day, you're still shooting bolters and flamers, and it was just not that good. And your meltas have 10-inch range. The role behind this unit is to just go to the middle and hold it down and survive and hold the middle point. Mm-hmm. So I decided I would just give them 3 power fists and a chain fist in the squad to give them some multi-damage or something if I get hit by a knight, and then they have the 6 accursed weapons in there, so they're like power swords that are mixed with a chain. I bring a unit of 5 possessed. The possessed are they're a fast-moving unit that's 3 wounds, armor of contempt at T5. They're pretty good, so they go off with the Demon Prince to kind of hold down that sideboard. With, like I said, with the Demon Prince moving 12 and those guys getting within 3 with their 9-inch movement, they provide lookouts for the Demon Prince. They can all kind of get to that dense, and the possessed will be behind it. He's fly, so he ignores it. And what it ends up doing is give me a pretty decent little early game hold that's really difficult to shoot off the board. You have to come fight me off it, and that's where I want you. I bring a 5-man, and the big Terminator brick is marked Slanesh, obviously, because they're going to be getting the Feel No Pain and just maximum durability on the unit. And then I bring a 5-man unit of Nurgle marked Terminators for the same thing, and they always warp strike in, and they're going to be scoring me engage points as well. They're also going to be going for behind enemy lines. They fill a little bit different of a role, which we'll get to a little bit later. And yeah, so I like them. They're a 5-man Terminator unit. 2 is always great. If you can drop them in some ruins, it's even better. And then they have access to 1 CP transhuman on a Terminator unit, which is really good. Then in my fast attack's all full up. One of the big winners in the Chaos Space Marines book is their bikes. The bikes are really good. They're really fast. And they're just at that T5 AOC 3 wound threshold. That's really annoying to efficiently kill.
It is, yeah.
And if you mark them Zinch, what ends up happening is they innately have the Helix Gauntlet. If you're not familiar with what that does, it zeroes out the first failed save of damage. So a lot of times they're really on the peripheral parts of the board, where the only thing that can get to them are the things with a little bit more range, your 36-inch guns, your 48-inch guns, which are autocannons, las cannons, meaningful weapons. And when you're shooting good weapons into a T5 platform that zeroes out the first one, it just gets really trolly. And they just they ride around. They're my all-stars. They move block. They do a lot of annoying things. They're really good because I give them the icon, I give them the mark for the additional AP to their range, and with the Let the Galaxy Burn rules, they have the +2 to their flamers, so you can put up to 2 flamers in a little 3-man unit, and it doesn't replace your combi bolter on your bike. So what ends up happening is you have 12 bolter shots out of the unit, and then 2d6 + 2 flamer shots from a little 3-man unit. Oh, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
So
that's so good.
And they're neg 1. So yeah, so for people like Eldar that put some Rangers off on a side field objective, or Kroot that cruise up to an objective, anything like that, you can roll up there and just roast them and then be touching it. And they're core, so if I needed to, in a turn where I don't need to refute the middle, or I'm not going to be challenged in the center, you can obsec those guys. So you obsec them, they zip over, burn whatever off, and now it's like, I got 3 dudes on here and you don't, or I have obsec, you don't. So it's just a really good flex piece.
So you're using them more like a scalpel almost, right, in your games, like trying to find like the weak area and just like exploit that?
Well, dude, they're actually not even like really... They can shoot some light stuff off the table, but they're not really a kill piece. They're super good for just a fast-moving unit that can just play whatever part of the game I need them to. If it's knights, they'll drive up and make a little line and roadblock you, and you'll bottleneck in. If it's a unit like Custodians, where I tend to have more mobility, then they'll be really easy to just drive up behind a crate in their deployment zone or their territory and score me engage with very little effort. Things like that, especially on the quarter deployments. So it's just a really good unit that fits into a secondary game plan is what I really think about. They keep you out of the middle because that's until I set up, or they'll score me secondary on the sideboard in an aggressive position. That's their real role, and then they can scorch forward to play stuff. They can kill chaff really easily. It's just a really good flex unit.
Okay.
And then I have a unit of 10.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
The 10-man Raptors it's like a 9-man now. It's a 9-man Raptors with 2 flamers as well for 2d6, and they're marked Sinesh. These guys they're super purpose built. They're who gets my pregame move. They can advance and charge because of the litany from the chaplain, or I can give them trans hitman, and they fit into kind of the game plan of my list. And I'll tell you what that is once I just finish up. Actually, I think that is the last unit. Mm-hmm. So going through the units of the list, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to score engage. I'm trying to triangulate the middle and hold and get 8s to 12s on primary regardless, which with the big Chaos Terminator brick with all of the buffs on it, I haven't seen anything that can kill that yet. It's ridiculously difficult to kill. I got hit by 6 Scorpex, the Silent King and Illuminar Xeris, and dude, I lost 3 dudes.
How tough can you make them? Because I keep hearing about the Terminator bricks for Chaos Space Marines, and I just don't know exactly how.
So here's what it is.
Are. Yeah.
So here's what everything that stacks onto them. It's a Terminator, so it's T4, 2 up, 5 up, with 3 wounds.
With Armor of Contempt also, right?
With Armor of Contempt, right, which is perfect. So then what you end up doing is there's a stratagem in the Chaos book, which just like Black Templars or anything similar, lets you give a relic to a sergeant in or any unit that has a champion in it. So with the Terminators, one of the big standout relic that people are taking on units is a relic called the Black Rune of Damnation. What it is it's a relic you give to a sergeant that gives the entire unit he's part of -1 to wound innately. And if anybody casts any spells within 18 inches of him, any roll of a doubles is a perils. So -1 to wound on any unit, huge. That's already amazing.
That's really strong, yeah.
Then what you do is you layer on a bunch of buffs that are as follows. You make that unit trans hitman, no rerolls from the priest litany. Then after that, the Master of Possession goes on there, and you hit him with the 5 up, feel no pain. And then they also get the +1 toughness from mutated invigoration. So now you're looking at a T5 Armor of Contempt unit that's trans hitman, no rerolls, -1 to wound, Armor of Contempt, 5 up, feel no pain.
Oh man!
I think the math on that unit is something absurd. I think it takes it was some absurd. It's 96 plasma gun shots to kill 2 dudes. It's absurd. So. Yeah. So the big thing about that is what goes on your center objective and holds it, because nobody will kill it. If they're trying to kill it, life is great. That's what you want. So you go into there, and some stuff can do a dang good job of it. And then, also dice are involved, but most of the time you're losing a guy or 2. And then you have the res spell. So you heal any remaining wounds in your next psychic phase and bring one of the dudes that you worked so hard to kill back.
Dude, this sounds like a juiced up Dark Angels. That sounds ridiculous.
Dude, it's more durable than Deathwing. It is. It is. The difference is it's not all of my Terminators. It's just 1 unit, but still. So the way I haven't found anything that really cruises through that at all. Rerolling wounds helps, but it depends on what you're hitting it with, because you got to think at T5. Unless you're hitting it with strength 6 or higher, you're wounding me on 5s and 6s. So it's and if you're most of the time, strength 6, 7, and 8 stuff is not volume stuff. So, things like that. And it's the other thing about it too is okay, some of that stuff can do well, but your volume is not super crazy. So you're still killing 1 or 2 guys. If I'm terrible, maybe 3, I bring 1 back, but what do you lose in return? And my guys keep coming back, right? And yours don't. So you win the grind there.
Okay.
Which is very important, which tends to lead to 1 to 2 turns of a guaranteed 12. That's my list. I'll talk in a nutshell about it real quick, because I don't think we need to make this necessarily all about my list, but this is the way that I pulled in a successful list. And then we'll talk about how this translates to other legions and kind of what the things that I find. There's 3 different criteria that I find across the different legions that makes them better or worse in my mind, and I'll explain why. So with my list, it's simple. My list banks on 3 things. The first is the pregame. This is step 1 to what my list does. We know I'm trying to establish the center with the Terminators. We know I have a redeploy of 3, which makes me have an optimal deployment. I can also put something up in the air and not spend any more CP. Typically, what I'm looking to do here is kind of do a little bit of baiting deployment and find the one position that my opponent puts something on the line. I don't really care what it is. Then I'll do my redeploy, and I'll tend to put my Raptors, if I go first, I'll put my Raptors right on the line. If I don't go first, I can put them back and they can maybe go off and hold a different objective, or they'll pregame move potentially to a more advanced but still defensive position to hold up board real estate. But the point of my Raptors with the pregame move and the redeploy, what I want to do is I'm scoring behind enemy lines or engage. So what I'm trying to do is deliver a unit or two that will get into that area, and theoretically, you're going to have to put way too much effort to get them out of your deployment zone, and I'm just going to score force on behind enemy lines, is what I'm trying to do. And the way I've done it is this. So I'll pregame move those Raptors, and then I'll move them, and they'll get up there and they'll charge something. And what I'm not necessarily trying to do, my opponent is typically worried about my kill power and whatnot, and it's like, dude, the Raptors, I've got chainswords and some flamers. It's not that crazy, but all they're trying to do is create a big footprint and almost like a wall that stops my opponent from moving out of their deployment zone, because I want to be in it. So I want to stop them. And what they're doing is kind of being a holder of a spot in the table to where my next turn, Abaddon can drop in with the Terminators, and I get 3 to 4 shots at that 8-inch charge at a deep strike to get in there and just continue messing stuff up. So on my opponent's first turn, ideally what happens is those Raptors move forward and block some of their deployment zone. This is going to allow me on my follow-up turn to deliver Abaddon and 5 Nurgle Terminators, and keep in mind there's cultists in the air, in order to initially start scoring me either engage, which I'm looking for the 3 if possible, if it's there, or I'm looking for behind enemy lines if it's like a Hammer Anvil or a Dawn of War. It is really easy to do it when you do this, because nobody tends to be able to stop it. So they'll move up forward, and I don't care if my opponent kills the Raptors or not, but more or less what they do is with the buffs I put on them, because my Terminators don't need it, they spend most, if not all, of their army trying to remove the big Raptor blob, which means the rest of my army was able to take position in the mid-table. Remember, on that side objective I like, and the mid-board, and all my buffs are off now. So now I've triangulated my 3 objectives. I've blocked you from being in the space that I want to get my secondaries. In the follow-up turn, I'll drop 5 Terminators and a Ruin right there with Abaddon as well. And Abaddon has the aura of +1 to charge. Abaddon's a screenable wound cap, so you have to kill 5 Nurgle-marked transhuman Terminators with Armor of Contempt before you can get to him. You have to kill 3 of them. Also, I have Cultist Spectre if I need, and the Raptors are still alive. So what happens is
this is so
you have to chew through so much dumb stuff that doesn't seem like a lot by itself, but once it's all in your face like that, now I'm there, and I'm in a position where I'm scoring 12 points on primary, and I'm scoring 4 points on behind enemy lines every turn. Also, as I move forward, I can raise banners uncontested on all 3 of these objectives, because I have a Demon Prince, 5 Possessed, and 3 Bikes on one. I have 5 Terminators, or 10 Terminators you're never going to kill in the middle, and my backfield, which is line backed by all of these units in kind of a diagonal line or whatever line. So that already lets me set up 3 banners, score a 12, and get behind enemy line setup. And then once I do that, whatever my other one was, if it was a kill one, if it was ritual, whatever, it's going to start scoring. So now that I'm in this position that I've set up, and I'm in a board state that is my board state, you're fighting your way out of a bag to stop me from scoring, which is really difficult to do for my army. And you're trying to get Abaddon out of your deployment zone. You're trying to get these Raptors that can fall back and charge out of your deployment zone and dead, so they don't fall back and kill something that's more important. And then also I have 5 Terminators escorting him as well. Then the cultists come down next turn and move. If I need to, I can pick something up. And then a lot of times what happens too, and the final nail in the coffin, is a lot of guys have reserves that'll come in. And Alpha Legion, remember, has that stratagem where I can select 2 units at the start of your reserves phase, and you cannot deploy within 12 of them. They become infiltrators. So if you're trying to make a play at my backfield, if you're trying to deploy and get some board position back, I just say no. And I just body block you in. And then at this point, it's like I'm in this board state that you probably aren't going to be able to remove until I've scored a significant lead in points, and you've probably not been able to establish the side no man's land objectives you've wanted to, and you're never going to get me off the middle.
That's such a Chad move, to just take your talents and just move them up the board and just be like, all right, I'm just going to use them to body block. How many points is that for a 9-man squad of talents?
It's like 200 points, 200 to 215 or something like that.
But they're so hard to get off the board. I loved every time that you were talking about your list, I would look at Scott and he would just start shaking his head at certain things.
Most of the time I'm shaking my head at it.
Yeah. And I'm like, dude, the thing is about it is any one part of it is not the best thing. It's not something new. It's not some crazy over the top thing that you would look at. But what I've noticed is a lot of people that don't know the way the army plays and necessarily what I'm trying to do with it, they don't see it. There's several, you got to think there's a redeploy into a pregame move into a purpose for this unit, which is setting up realistically another unit to do something for me. So it's multiple steps in this game plan that so far has worked out really well for me.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the general consensus. It doesn't always have to go that way because it's very flexible. If I go second and you're a slow army and I don't need to do that, or I don't have to. If you're an army that really wants to body bomb, like if I was playing Word Bearers, I know I have OBSEC on the middle, and I know I can't afford to lose the middle because they probably have, 2 secondaries that are going to score on the middle. So maybe I put Abaddon in the middle there. It's things like that. And I'll play for Engage with my small trash unit. So it's very flexible. It scores banners and it scores Engage or behind enemy lines super well every single time. Usually I can optimize my flex pick, and then the other key component is it has a source of OBSEC to make up for the fact that only Legionnaires and Cultists have OBSEC. That's my list. That's what it does. It's worked pretty well so far. I'm going to keep testing it, and I'm starting to actually ramp up the real stress testing on it as we move forward. But
so, talk about testing it. I know you said you've played against Tau already. What else have you played against with this list and done well with, or that you beat? Because all you beat so far. So
I've played into a lot of stuff. Played into Eldari, like a Hail of Doom variant. I've played Kraken Nids. I've played into Custodians. I've played into a Big Bug kind of Jormungandr list. I've played into the Chaos Mirror. I've played into several games of this crazy Necrons that are coming out right now. I'm just trying to test it into everything. I'm trying to see where the holes are, see which opponents are like, if my opponent catches on to me, like if they see what I'm doing. And I'm kind of trying to see literally where the list is fallible, more or less, and I'll talk about it. Like, luckily I'm blessed. We have a pretty good team out here that, we can get very frequent games, and I can really play against some good guys to really try to expose that stuff. But so far it's worked really well. It's worked well. Like I said, the big thing about it is I reliably score those 2 secondaries and I'll max my primary like almost every game.
I'm curious, with your relying on deep striking stuff I'd be interested to see how your army does against the Chaos Knights with their Harbinger abilities, where you have to roll the dread test for the charges.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Most of the stuff's lead 9, lead 10 if the chaplain's there, or lead 10 if you're around a couple of the other characters. You've got Abaddon there as well, so I'm lead 9 and above. And also, like I said,
you're -1 from dread test automatically. Just from
sure, yeah. So I'm taking dread tests. Typically, I want to charge the closest thing. And then also,
the closest. It's just anytime you charge, you have to roll for the dread test, and if you fail, you're half charge. You have to reduce your roll by half. That's
right. It depends, but I mean, against Knights, it's not necessarily that I'm more or less trying to kill them. My game plan is the same either way. With Chaos Knights, in the games that I've played, I was playing Harlequins before that. I think that the game plan there would be more to impose Abaddon and my Demon Prince, and to realistically just hold on to some the objectives that I hold on to already, and then use my smaller units to really move block and try to dictate where the fight happens. Usually that's kind of what I've been able to do with a lot of these bigger model units, into Chaos Knights, into Big Bugs, stuff like that. What I do is I use these small units, the 5 possessed. I use the 3 bikers ×2. I'll use some units like that, even cultists, if I can throw them away in matches that I don't really need to worry too much about people coming behind me and whatnot. And realistically, just try to dictate what you hit and where you can go, because a lot of this list moves fast. Once again, I'm not above using my Raptors to just make a wall of bodies to keep you in your spot, and just not charge
absolutely.
you. So I mean, that's the point. That's kind of the point of it. Like I said, this is a deceptive list because you see some things on there and you see the Raptors and you up and literally occupy board space so that you can't. I'm not necessarily trying to kill you at all, because all of my secondaries that score are not kill secondaries. They're just about being in a certain place of the board and existing there. So that's kind of what we're going at.
So I know that we're like running a little bit long here, but there's still like so much more that I want to ask you here about.
Sure, yeah.
About Chaos
Rapid
Space
fire,
Marines.
go.
Well, I wanted to know, like, so your list, would you say that it's different from other Chaos Space Marine lists that are going more like aggressive, and you're going more for like just scoring points? Is that what you're trying to get at, or?
Yeah, to a degree. I think that there's a lot of staples you're going to see, Matt, that are going to be in almost every Chaos list. You're going to see the Terminator brick pretty universally, because that's just a very strong thing in the book, which will be the 10 Terminators. Marcus Lanesh, you'll see them with the book on the Master P and the Dark Apostle. That's going to be there. You're going to see those several things. You'll probably see some bikes and whatnot. But the difference is in Legion choice and game plan. So, like I said, I feel like I'd probably do okay into word bearers. And I'm actually one of the guys on our team has just won an RTT with the word bearers list. So we're actually setting up a practice game. But I think that this is a good segue into what's next here, I think. And I don't think a lot of those two are going to be the same. I think we're going to fall into the initial ruts, and then we're going to see divergence and different identities coming out. But when selecting a Legion, I think that these are the things that I thought was most important. In Nephilim right now, the first thing that I think is massively important is being able to control the table. So for me, the first thing that was, well, actually, that'll be the second, because the first most important thing is the secondary game. Because now secondaries aren't guaranteed. Stranglehold is gone. To the Last is gone. All of those are gone. So the first thing you need to look at in your Legion is how this set of tools will allow me to score the secondaries that are my playstyle reliably. That's the first thing. So when I looked at all of these Legions, the way that I play the game right now, Alpha Legion fits me because that's what I know, and I know what I'm trying to do. If I'm playing for my Supremacy category secondaries and my Shadow Ops secondaries, they complement that super, super well. It doesn't matter about kill power, which is something that in Chaos I feel like is an antiquated thought, mindset in what they do. It's still there. There's still these very killy builds, but I think it's we are much less killy than we've ever been. So the first thing I looked at is my secondary options and what secondaries the Legion I choose opens up for me to score reliably to win competitive games against high-level opponents. Is which Legions give me access to either gain more OBSEC for me or to reduce my opponent's OBSEC? Because Chaos Knights is a great example. All of their little knights have OBSEC. If I don't have OBSEC, it doesn't matter if I have the 10-man Terminator Brick of Doom and Destruction Apocalypse. Oh my God. They toe touch one thing on it. A Harlequin steps on my objective and I lose it. It doesn't matter. So to a certain degree, unless you have these special tools like heroics and a lot of these things, which Chaos don't have a ton of, you need to be able to definitively hold your primary. And that's a thing that, I kind of learned playing some Dark Angels and then moving forward into this. I think that that's a very important thing for you to identify within your army. Some of the Legions have tools that take them. Some of them have things like mine does with a Warlord trait that gives you OBSEC. Iron Warriors have it. Black Legion has both, which makes them very strong in my opinion. That's the second thing that I looked at in what makes Legions good or viable or less viable for me. And then the final thing was, what tools within my stratagems, relics, and warlord traits from my Legions is going to personify the set of secondaries that I want to take? And how does that allow me to create and implement a game plan that will equate to wins on the tabletop? So that's what I looked at, which is funny because I feel like my list and my front runners are ones that are not the general consensus. But that's okay because my play style is a little different, and we'll see if it even works at all because everything right now is all hypothesis with Chaos Space Marines, but those things are important. So
yeah. That
being said, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that you keep saying things about like your play style and stuff, and this is something that like I believe in like just so much is that whenever you're playing an army, you have to pick something that plays into your play style, because like you can pick like a shooting army and it could be like the best army in the game, but if it's not your play style, like you're just gonna fall on your face. Like it's really hard. So like you have to really customize your army as much as you possibly can to fit you. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. One of my good friends, Tom, just did a podcast talking about the very similar thing. I think that playstyle is important. It's something that's very important for identity, and it's things. It's what makes certain lists able to win in the hands of certain great players, as opposed to why some people will grab net lists, which there's no shame in it. It's a great foundation, but it's maybe why you can't take it to its full potential. Yeah. Because the tools that I see in maybe Alpha Legion are not necessarily the tools that another player might see as valuable to his playstyle.
Yeah.
But for my playstyle, some of the big front runners is obviously Black Legion. I think is very, very good. Black Legion has both a relic that gives them OBSEC, and then they have a stratagem that removes OBSEC with your legionaries. So you can make some massive primary primary plays there, which is huge. And I think that that's a very big thing in the Nephilim setup, where we're not seeing as much Alpha Strike. A lot of the game takes place in the midboard, fighting over no man's land. I think the ability to both dictate your opponent's OBSEC and your own is a huge thing for denying enemy agency in your primary, and as well as you being able to hold down your own. I think that's super important. So Black Legion has both of them, super, super strong. Night Lords are kind of like a legion that I don't think is getting enough credit right now because nobody's really attempted it. But they have some tools that I think are super interesting as well in the hands of a good player. I think that they have a warlord trait that they have access to two things together in abundance. They have fight last and lock in combats, as well as taking away OBSEC. So you can jump into something, stick it in combat, say you can't leave, and steal their OBSEC. So you can hold points and make plays or lock things down, which is super, super good in my opinion. I think that those are some things that are really looked over because their Legion trait is less than wonderful. It's only good into some stuff in the meta, but if you run into other high leadership things, they lose half of their trait. But they're one of the few things that they have a lot of board mobility, which, like I said, I think right now in this mission setup, mobility is king because it opens up more secondaries than your opponents will have. So being able to, they have a redeploy mid game, a redeep strike. Not even Harlequins can pop up and read deep strike. Night Lords can.
Oh wait, they can.
Night Lords can come in one turn.
They can just come in and then just like redeploy their deep strike.
Right, so they'll drop in, they'll fight, they'll do their turn. In your next movement phase, you can pick them up and they read deep strike, which is super sick.
That's hilarious.
They
I
also,
love that. Okay,
it's good. It's good. Think about if you're playing for R&D. Now your 5 Raptors can drop in, defensively do it, pick them up, and do it again. So you don't have to build 2 units in. You only build 1.
Yeah.
Or you have that option. Or something that would hold your backfield in the late game can go up turn 4 and come down turn 5 anywhere after you've had dictation of the game state. I think that's really important and huge. Night Lords also have a really cool ability to come in 1 turn ahead on their deep strikes and strategic reserves. So they're the only legion that has a turn 1 deep strike. Which gets real kind of crazy when you start talking about some of the units you have and some of the ability to lock things in combat. It's kind of could be like my little Raptor plan on steroids. You drop in Warp Talons, come in, they can't fall back. You tag 3. So like things like that just really just mess up game plans in the hands of the right general. So I think that that's really important. I think that that's something that's overlooked. I think they're pretty decent in their tool set. But I think that they're like the ultimate OP, sorry, I'm plugging my phone back in. Do I think that they're like the craziest, best Legion there is, hands down? No, but I think there's a lot of play in what the tools that they have are as the game develops and what wins the mid-table and what wins your secondary options. And then lastly, I really like Alpha Legion. I like them because their ability to secure mobility on the table and also deny it from my opponent. I think that's really huge. I like to be able, if someone's playing R&D against me, you just messed up. You're never going to get it. Yeah. If you're playing for something like whatever, any of those, if you're trying to deep strike some major threat in on me, it's not going to work. If you think that you're going to beat me in deployment, I'm going to move. It's just like a lot of stages for me to be optimal and have an advantage in the mobility. I think that that's the way that I play. I think that's really good.
Okay. So if somebody were to go up against Chaos Space Marines, like they don't really know exactly what's going on, but they want to know like what units they should be prioritizing. What would be the units?
So first I would look at what secondaries my opponent had, but there's a few linchpin things, and you identified one of them. If you see an opponent with the Black Rune Big Terminator brick, if there's ever an opening to get to any of those characters that support them, without those characters, those Terminators are just regular Terminators. And they will die. Right. So the Dark Apostle, the Master of Possession, those are some things that if you can tag those things, that like I blew one up in a test game, my Master P exploded to double perils. Dude, like after that point, my durability was significantly lessened, and then you start losing Terminators. Next thing you know, I got 4 and 2 and whatnot.
Fairly easy to take out, right?
It's just a caster and a regular Marine on foot, so it's nothing super crazy. Those are very important. And I think the other thing too is understanding your army identity, because if you're not an army that that actually can challenge the mid board against a unit like that, then you should probably try to kill the stuff around it that's going to score them their secondaries as well. And just let them have the middle. If you can get to the backfield in the traditional manner, then that's huge. If you can kill the stuff around it, that's huge, and if you start taking away the things that score them points, it's cool if you have a big Terminator brick in the middle, but that's only scoring you one objective. And it's not scoring you engage if you took it. It's not going to R&D. It's not going to score you whatever else, long war. You're just sitting on an objective and holding it. It'll score you 1 banner and 4 points.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing to identify. And then, the other thing is kind of getting savvy with what stratagems maybe can realistically get you and blunt your attack when you're trying to make it. Like Iron Warriors can go -1 damage. For me, I can conceal a unit. You're positioning to shoot, or if you're trying to deep strike on it, just certain things that you just need to know. Word bearers have a stratagem that if they fail a spell, they can just spend the CP reactively, and the spell automatically casts and can't be denied.
What?
So yes, so
Okay.
right.
Say that again. Say that again.
Okay, yeah, sure. That sounds cool.
It's called Malevolent Covenant. It's 1 CP. When a caster fails a psychic test, they spend the 1 CP for Malevolent Covenant, and what it says is the spell is automatically cast at its minimum casting level, and it cannot be denied.
Oh, that is hilarious.
It's super good.
Wait,
So
can that work with like things like psychic interrogation?
I believe it can. That's just a psychic test.
That's funny. So you just get a 12 on a psychic test, and then just like gets.
Well, but
that's
psychic
great.
interrogation is a psychic action, not a psychic test.
Oh,
psychic
yeah.
Test. I don't know if you
Which we can check the nomenclature on it if you have it. It's called Malevolent Covenant.
Yeah,
I'll pull it up. I think I got the book right.
Yeah. So, going off of that, what were we talking about? I'm sorry, I'm like so mind blown about that. I'm like, what?
So if we're still talking about legions and viability,
Yeah.
I think an important point to talk about is I've seen a lot of players that were really excited about this release, really get bummed when they've heard that their legion isn't good. Quote,
Mm-hmm.
I've also heard a lot of people get excited at the glow up to their specific legion, and what I think that's important to stress right now is that some legions in some players' minds might be based on a certain skill set, but I think it's important to note that all of these legions are still very good because the codex generally is very good.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are super different than the other. They just tend to exacerbate one stylistic choice within the codex.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I think it's important for the guys out there, everybody playing from the highest competitive level to what narrative levels, and every person that enjoys Warhammer in their own respective way, to understand that every legion is worth trying. If it's the one you love, there are ways to play and there's ways to win. And I think that it's important to not give up on it, but to actually do the opposite. Give it some tries and try some cool generalship stuff. Get some tech and some jank in your lists, and try to see what you can make work. The big things is just don't get swept away too much in trying to make the Chaos Codex as a whole something it's not. We don't have a ton of shooting. The shooting that we have is kind of like mid-grade at best. There are a couple legions that can accentuate that. Also, understand how much OBSEC you have and where you have it in order to formulate your game plan. And then inside of that, take the identity of your legion and what it does well and try to take that to the next level. I think that's the important thing to note about the Chaos Codex as a whole.
Okay. So I think that as of right now, we can like go towards the end of this episode. We've been talking for a pretty long amount of time, but like Steven, it's such a great insight into Chaos Space Marines, just because like this book is like massive. It's a massive book. And it is hard to like read through everything, so hats off to you for being like one of the only 10 people that read through the whole thing. Is just like because it's crazy.
It's funny too, because like I've been trying to like formulate some other stuff, but I spent so much time trying to make this kind of setup work and whatnot. It's like, dude, I'm starting to like, there's so much depth. Like me looking at a black, I'm looking at building like a Black Legion list as well, and it's like just back to the drawing boards. The stuff that works in this Legion setup doesn't work in that Legion setup. So it's like a much different play style, and then you move into like Word Bearers, which are very killy and play a different game plan. And it's like, dude, it's just everyone is so similar but so different in a way that it's like, man, it's like the way stuff scores and the identity is different. The book is deep and it's very nuanced, so it's really, I think it's fun. I love that, and I think there's so many cool ways to pull a lot of strength out of this codex.
There's so many warlord traits. Like there's so much stuff they can pick from in this book. It's crazy. What were we gonna say, Scott?
Dude,
I was gonna say, so I had two final follow-up questions, if you don't mind, real quick. So first off, I know that there's been a lot of stuff I've been reading on the internet where people are kind of talking bad about the codex, mostly because a lot of the options, the warrior options, have been taken away from stuff, and so people are like, half my models that I've collected I can't use anymore. What do you say to those people to try to encourage them to keep playing Chaos?
Comparison is the death of joy. First off, this isn't 8th edition Chaos Space Marines. It's the new identity to it. So, I think that embracing what we have now and understanding there is a lot of strength in this book and there is a lot of power there, and taking a constructive mindset in that, understanding that your old methods aren't necessarily the methods that work here, but there are methods here that work very well. I would say apply a little bit of ingenuity and a little bit of creativity and have some fun and pull the you out of this codex that you can pull out of it. When you come to model loadouts and stuff like that, I do understand that it's frustrating to a degree. But one thing that I did notice across this book, when it comes to things like Terminator loadouts and Chosen loadouts, the reason they made a lot of these things accursed weapons or these and that and whatnot is because there always was universally an issue with that box, to where you have one lightning claw, one power axe, one chain axe, one. It's like, dude, how am I going to make a unit of all this one weapon? I can't. Well, now with the cursed weapons, all of your stuff can go into one unit, and it's really general. And then for us, like if you're going to add one unit that's something that's divergent, put a squad mark or something, or something like that. You don't. When it comes to chaos like this, as long as these types of things, as long as you're really clear with your opponent from the get-go of the game, and you can just identify by a base or something the one model that has a different armament, then it's pretty straightforward. It's really simple and easy. So I would say I wouldn't get too wrapped up in all of that stuff. Most of the time, if you check with your event TO or your head judge, they're going to okay what you're doing, so long as it's clear and not confusing. When it comes to mixed weaponry, they've done a great job of actually making it more inclusive and easier than ever to have non-WYSIWYG, what it used to be, units that are now viable, and they are WYSIWYG. And a lot of the kits give you the stuff you need. And then the stuff that doesn't matter truly doesn't matter. Warp Talons all have the same lightning claws. Mm-hmm. So I think that when it comes to that, I would say don't go smashing and chopping up your model kit. Look into things like squad marks. Look into which units you're trying to really change. And at the end of the day, it's the hobby aspect of this is important as well. You spend a lot of time to build and create and paint your models. You shouldn't be tearing them up when there's easier ways and there's products out there to differentiate certain models and certain war gear. So I would be proud of the models you painted and built, and just find a creative other means to differentiate your models.
See, Steven, you say that, but listen, all right, as a Harlequin player, okay, like he's just like, nah, fuck this. But like as a Harlequin player, all right, I had to strip away all of my fusion pistols, and you know how heartbreaking that is to have all my fusion pistols gone.
Why don't you just put red squad marks?
See, because I'm not smart, Steven. That's the problem.
I think you're a smart guy.
What was your other question, Scott?
So like we did last episode, so I being a school teacher, I grade a lot of stuff on that A through F scale. Obviously with the tier scales that we see a lot of people doing with that, S scale at the very top, where would you rate this codex?
I think this codex is very solidly in the A tier. I don't think we have anything truly, in my personal opinion. There's a deviation on whether people believe Sisters are S tier or in the A tier. But I think with the data slate and with the Nephilim changes and how things have shifted and changed, I personally don't believe that there is anything in S tier right now, because I think that Sisters have a lot of weaknesses to a lot of the stuff that has been released and might be released, as well as some huge issues.
And I agree with that if we're going to put Sisters in S tier, that we need to bump up some other stuff into S tier too. Like there's gonna be 4, 5, 6 things in S tier at that point.
Which at that point, what does S tier even mean? I think there's a lot of I think everything is pretty much solidly A and B unless you're an 8th edition codex. So I think that right now, honestly, I've been talking about this. I'm kind of hyped on Nephilim because it's almost like the Great Reset, where it's like anything at this point in the game of Warhammer can win. I think you're at the point where in the hand. That's an 8th edition book. We don't talk about those right now. Excluding the 8th edition books, I think that anything that has had a codex this year, with the data slate out, with the new mission pack, with the CP changes, in the hands of the right person, anybody can make anything win right now, so long as it has a 9th edition rule set. So I think that what a time to be alive, where it's not 9 Void Weavers, where it's not, Drukhari again, or where it's not, oh man, 4 Flyer Admech or freebooters, like we're at this point where it's like, it's almost, I feel like maybe people don't really know what to do with themselves, because the game is kind of as balanced as we've seen it in a long time, which is really healthy for the game state. It's really healthy for the whole spectrum of players, I think.
Mm-hmm. All right. Nice. Okay, so let's round this one off. What are upcoming events that you're going to be going to? And we'll do this as a roundtable for everybody. Any upcoming events that you guys are thinking about going into? Now that you've talked about your list here, Steven, now people can go into the same event that you're going to and be like, I got the direct counter to it. Let's go.
They're gonna be like, I watched lots of snipers, and now I know I got your number.
Yeah.
So lucky for us over here in SoCal, we're pretty blessed. There's a lot of events coming up. The next 2 events that I'm going to be going to is there's an RTT going on here at Onboard Gaming in Escondido, which I'll do kind of last minute tweaks before we got a major coming up called Palm Springs Open, put on by Dice Hammer. Dice Hammer events are amazing. That event actually sold out, and it was their first inaugural Palm Springs Open. So that's going to be really cool. A lot of us are going to be there. Are you going to that, Scotty?
No, I got a couple buddies who'll be there, but I'm not going to be on that one, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw your name. But yeah, so my next major will be at Palm Springs Open. And this is where I'm really going to stress test in a 6-rounder to see this is where I'm really looking forward to get data on this Alpha Legion list at the highest, and kind of see if it does chalk up or where I get exploited. If I do. That's the next one. And then through the fall, we're going to probably I'm going to try to catch one more US Open event. I think Chicago seems like it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't talk about how much fun I had at the US Open. It was such a cool event. There was so much interactive stuff going on. It was great. If you get a chance to go to those, check it out. And then, as always, SoCal Open is a favorite here. I'm sure I'll see both of you guys. That event is a blast. I know I've seen Scott in the top 8 there, so that'll be sweet. And that's what I'm kind of going
for it again.
Yeah, and that'll be the time.
Don't talk about it. Be about it, Scott.
Dude, demons are going to be out by that time too, Scott. So you could just make your run back real quick.
If I can get my Kabanda model built by then.
Your Kabunda?
Your Kabunga?
Your Kabanda. Okay, Scott, what events are you going to?
So I'm kind of in that slump right now where, I don't have a lot going on as far as events go. Because like I said, anniversary and travel next week for Universal with the kids and everything, that I don't have a ton. I've got one tournament planned for the 23rd, which is by a local shop by Black Ronin Games in Tracy. That it's kind of an odd event though. It's their first Warhammer event they've ever ran. And so they're using the old book still. They're not using Nephilim. They're still using Nachmund. And so
I'm sorry, what? What?
Yeah.
But it's like,
they're using all the chapter approved changes, all the points changes, but they're still using Nachmund.
What type of grognard friggin' came up with that rule? That's crazy.
So there's 10 people at that event. It's a real small local RTT. So I'm gonna go to try to crush some heads in there. But I got a bunch of local guys I know going to that. So either way, it'll just be a ton of fun. But in the meantime, between now and then, just to celebrate the Demon Codex coming out, I do have a painting project I'll be working on. Oh. And if you guys recognize this model,
dude, it's Kabunga.
No, nice try. It's a Scar brand.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
I'll be working on trying to get a Scar brand up and painted between now and then.
Okay. All right. Sick. Events on my end, probably. I don't go to many events. I don't know.
Palm Springs Open.
I can't. I have my lady friend that I have to keep track of. I have my fiance that I have to keep track of and
I was gonna say, you start calling her your lady friend, not fiance. There's gonna be more trouble.
I know. So we finally got to the end of this podcast, guys. Let's get to plugging.
I feel like we barely talked about.
I know
anything,
dude. Right? like it just there's so much that we could talk about. But let's talk about plugs here. Scott, you want to go first? I think that you have a new social media place that you can finally start telling people about. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm so old. I was just on Facebook, but I had to expand out from there. So you guys can find me weekly here on Chapter Tactics. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook. My name on there is my name normally, Scott LaFountain. And then I do have a new Instagram account I opened up under Mini Fight Club. I've got 2 whole posts on there already. Yeah.
Ooh, 2. That's good.
Yeah, I know. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah,
somewhere. So, but yeah, you can catch me on there uploading stuff. Either stuff I'm painting, stuff I'm working on, or events I'm going to. So yeah, grab me on there. Mini Fight Club.
All right, and then Steven, where can people find you?
Where can you find me?
Yeah.
Us friendly mid-tier locals hang out at Onboard Gaming and around the San Diego and greater LA region. You can check us out, Xenos Petting Zoo or XPZ. We're in Discord, or you'll see us around. Please come up and talk to any of us. We're a very sportsman-oriented team that's all about community, or way more so than winning, which is huge. So if you're on the West Coast and you see any of us, please come talk to us. I'd love to, have you, come hang out, play, get better, and we'll all, have some community together. If you're on the East Coast, similar thing from Death or Glory Gaming. It's run by Tom Ogden. That's like one of my brothers. And you can find on the East Coast, if you see any of them, please talk to them. They're purveyors of community as well. You'll get more games, you'll get more community, you'll get a bright minds that'll help you get better at the game. Also, check out next week. This coming weekend, if you're in San Diego, we have the OC Classic up in Westminster. It's a GT and prep of Palm Springs Open. Should be a great time. A lot of guys coming up there. So if you can catch that, there's a weekend event going on there. Lastly, support Onboard Gaming. They have done so much for the community down here and helped us prosper in ways we could never have without the support that they've given us. So shout out to Onboard Gaming.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate, XPC's, great team. Some of the best opponents that I've ever fought against. Like, they're all really, really nice. Been going over to Onboard Gaming as well, like every single Thursday. Everyone's like super, super chill there. And then their Discord's pretty fire. Helps you organize like where all the events are, especially if you are California based. Helps out a lot. So go check that out. We'll put a link in the description and everything like that. Yeah, boy. As for me, you can find me at Walmart, as always. Just chilling in the electronics aisle. Probably like inside the $5 DVD bin. Just like, if you want to know like what's at the bottom, it's me. So just stay away from there.
They still sell DVDs in the age of Netflix?
At the Walmart that I go to. But yeah, so that will be this episode of Chapter Tactics. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys liked it, make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, press the subscribe button, all that good stuff. Get your tickets for LVTT, get your tickets for SoCal on Saturday as well, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody. Have a good night.